It's really lovely to see you. My name is Priya. If you don't know who I am the Education Sustainability Consultant here at Teach and Commonwealth Education Trust and Teach2030. I am joined today by Shibangi from India, who is co-hosting today our Q&A today, which is really wonderful. So thank you so much for joining today and supporting the Q&A today as well. So if you are joining, if you can just make sure that you're muted, thank you so much. And part of the Q&A is that we ask you if you've got any questions that you would like to ask. And so we select 3 questions and we ask those, we basically talk about these questions during our Q&A. And what's really lovely is that we can also, our ambassadors here at Teach2030 can also have their input as well, which is really important about some of the questions that are also posed too. So what I will do is that we've been sent 3 questions. So to start off with, I'm going to start off with our first question. So Shibangi, did you want to say anything first?
Yes, thank you so much for calling me here. I'm very happy to be a part of this Q&A. And let's start with that and just, do it in a very good way and help
Fantastic.
teachers, help our community, teachers community in a better way.
Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start off with one of our questions that we received. And the first question is, how can you effectively engage with all learners in the classroom? How can we effectively engage with all learners in the classroom? I don't know if Shibangi, you've gone offline slightly.
Yeah. What I feel is, engagement, learning engagement in the classroom is a very, critical and crucial part for all the teachers. And so, what I feel is, reaching to all the learners. The learning engagement should be for which, the engagement should be, which can reach to all the students, for all the children in the class. And it also depends on the class of the size. It has a, the classroom is a smaller number, larger number. So this is also an important part of, making an learning engagement for the class.
Absolutely. And it's really valuable that you talk about that word all learners, because we're talking about, large classrooms, but even where someone's sick, but talking about all abilities, because we want to support all learners to reach all of our learners and our students in our classroom too. And so effectively engaging all learners in our classroom, how can we do that? I mean, there are many different routes into this, from motivation, from planning. There's lots of different ways to help engage our students and learners in our classrooms as well. So what would you probably think could be something that's really valuable that can help this particular teacher in their classroom too?
Yes, I agree with you, Miss Priya. There are many ways to engage in the classroom with the students. What I feel is that small quizzes really help, and small reflective questions are also very helpful. And also according to the subject and the topic which the teacher has covered in the classroom, this could be also very important according to the topic of the subject. I believe this is also very important to plan, for the engagement, learning engagement.
Absolutely. So would you sometimes even have like a hook of a lesson or something like that? Tell me a little bit about what you would do there to try and engage those learners. What would you kind of do there?
Yeah, learning hooks are very, 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 very important. If if any teacher is very, I mean, hook is a new word for someone. Hook means that how we introduce the topic. You know, if I, for example, if any teacher has started with Pythagoras in the class, so how to introduce Pythagoras to the students as a new topic is a hook. So engaging hook is also very important.
Brilliant, absolutely. So something to start the lesson off to engage those learners. So would you say something like building in some questions, do you reckon? So you're talking about Pythagoras, or was it photosynthesis or something like that? Any kind of, new big topic that you're working on, how can you build that in? What would you do to, I know you've got a hook, so maybe if it's an image or even if it's a key word, what would you try to do to kind of engage those learners too?
If I talk about my subject, I teach German language. And as I can say that, everything for a new learner, everything is new to them. So
Hmm.
if I talk about colors, let's learn colors today. So I can just give them, ideas like magnet words. Which color flower you like, which flower you like, which dress you like. So we can connect with that. So this could be also an entertaining, it could be also introductory hook for the colors. And
Brilliant.
what is your favorite color? So this is how small things we can do. And
Absolutely.
teachers are always expertise in their subject. I believe teachers can manage, with the engaging hooks.
Absolutely. And I think that's really, really valuable that you mentioned that too, as well. Too. And I think also we can try, other strategies as well, in especially with when we're coming up to thinking about planning for engagement as well.
Yeah.
So what would you probably say with that? Like if you're trying to really think about a long topic, what would you say that you would need to do when you're thinking about planning for your lesson as well?
Yeah. Planning for the lesson plan is are always, helpful for prior work. Teachers are always planned. They should always go whenever they are entering in the class. They should be always planned that this is how I'm going to do. And many a times it also happened that the planning goes all vanished away. So plan B should be also there. This happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's really important that you mentioned planning actually, because it is vital for the success of that lesson. So you know and where those students are guiding to all the different parts. But also when you've got a big topic, sometimes, planning for chunks of that lesson is really important. So sections of that lesson. So you can really engage with what students do know in that part of the lesson, but
Yeah.
also where are those filling those gaps in as well, so you can really kind of see where their progress is along the course of that lesson too. So trying to build in small kind of structured parts when you're planning your lesson is really, really valuable too, and I'm glad that you mentioned that as well. And it's in part of also including all your learners too. I think that really does help, with a few points with that particular question as well. And we have received another question too, and this question is, based on time, we might only have time for this particular question. It says this: help with effective assessment. How often should I assess learners to see if they are making progress? Which type of assessment is best for primary students? So if I look at this question, I'm sure from anyone listening, there's quite a lot in that particular question. This particular teacher is talking about how often should they assess the learners to
Mm,
see if they're making progress, but also what type of assessment is really valuable for primary. So we're going to take the first part, which is how often should we assess learners. So let's first of all think about what are the different types of assessment, first of all, Shibangi, that you can probably
yeah.
talk about.
There are two types of assessment. One is formative assessment and summative assessment. Formative assessment can be taken on a regular basis, and summative assessments are, which we always do as a yearly exam and half yearly exams, which has the criteria of, per marks criteria, and some kind of grading criteria is there, you know. So this is the difference. So I believe this is what I would like to share about the
Sure.
assessment. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you're talking about formative assessment as well. So it's really great because formative assessment, you use that more often in a classroom,
Yeah.
and you get to see how much students know in that class by asking,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
questions during that class, and where they're going, and also just to understand how much knowledge they've really retained as well. So it's really, really
Yeah.
great that you talk about that. So really, when you're asking, is there a set number of how many times we should be assessing our learners to show making progress? Is there a set number, do you think?
I believe that monthly is really works well.
Hmm.
because I thought of, weekly could also work, but sometimes it's
Hmm.
very monotonous and stressful for the
Hmm.
students. Every week, if they have something, pen or paper test, quizzes are okay, interactive quizzes are okay, or group discussions are okay.
Yeah,
It's really entertaining for the student. We can change the variations of the assessment, you know, it could be a play. We can also give them a, side of just create a play or create the dialogue work.
brilliant.
But
And I like
uh,
the way that
yeah,
you, yeah, sorry, I think there was a bit of a break there within what you said there. But I think it's really important, Shibangi, that you said that, I guess to some degree, there isn't a set number of assessments that someone a teacher should have. But really, what there should be is something where most definitely think about your planning of your assessment. That's quite important too, across what you're trying to do. But in a lesson, you might have lots of different points at where you're kind of assessing learners as well, which I think is really valuable too. So let's have a look in building in that time. So I think that comes with the first question is really planning that time accordingly, which I think is really, really valuable too. So
hmm,
you might have a quiz, like you said. That's really great because that can also support learners as well, too. Tell me a little bit about like your weekly review. What would you probably say is a weekly review or a challenge too for especially if someone's in a primary school, for instance, as well?
yeah. Yes, that's really important with the primary students because they are very young children, and this
Hmm.
is their time when they have to create their own concept clarity, which is very, very, important for their learning to create a correct base. So for them, I believe that weekly review or weekly reflection really works well. Again,
Brilliant.
I said, the assessment should be without stress, so children will also enjoy it.
Absolutely. And there are many different ways that you can do it through a quiz, as well, or something along those lines of that. I think we also talked about the fact that it's important to positively reinforce what students do know as well, but also just work on those areas, through other means, so like a quiz or something as well, which is really great too. I think,
Yes,
Shabangi, you would also we'll have another question about teaching techniques and skills, and I think based on our time we can always answer that question, another time as well. But to be
yes,
honest, I'm really grateful, for having you here, Shabangi. I think you've answered these questions and really supported the teacher with some ideas when it comes to, thinking about teaching in their classroom as well. And for anyone else who's tuned in from wherever you are, thank you so much. Really lovely, to see you all as well. And so apologies again for it not being recorded on Facebook. Unfortunately, we've had a bit of an issue with that today, so it's just on Zoom, but we'll try and share this on Facebook as well, later today or tomorrow as well. But from all of us here, thank you so much. If you would like to find out some more about our courses, our Teach 2030 courses, you can find out more here. I've just type it into the chat box, as well, and you can find out more about our courses as well too. Part 1 is free, and you can find out more information there. We do also have a workshop next week, too, which I'm really excited to also co-host with as well. Thank you again and have a really lovely day. Thank you all for joining. Bye now.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye now.